Good evening, everybody. Sorry, just kind of setting some things up. Yeah, good evening or good afternoon, good morning, good night. We are live, and as always, we are the Melanated Council. Look at this, look at it. We stream every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, and wherever you guys are at in the world, that is when we stream. If you are watching this now and it is live for real. We didn't pre record this episode and then stream it live 5 minutes late. I feel like that's kind of rude. I mean, it's rude already for being a little late. I apologize for that. Just a little tiny itty bitty technical difficulties, but we're here. And as always, like, subscribe, and enjoy the show. So, tonight, it's a new month, it's May, and if you're new to the channel, usually every month we pick a topic and try to, talk about different aspects of said topic every Tuesday for the entire month. So, this month we're going to talk more about politics. I know it's something that we haven't really spoken about in a while. Our channel, the Melanated Council, was started because of Andrew Yang. It was formerly called the Melanated Council of Yang, but we changed to the Melanated Council after Yang, stopped running for president and was just doing other things. We decided to kind of just go our own way. But before, we would talk about politics relatively often, and we've kind of strayed away from that. So this month, with the thanks from the community, if you are familiar with us, we have a Discord channel. I can drop the link later, but one of our members of the community, President Manny, who's been on the show probably about maybe 2 years ago or so. He's been on the show before, and he sometimes drops in the comments when he has time. He works a pretty busy schedule, so it's always awesome when he drops in. But he's in the Discord, and he mentioned about Robert F. Kennedy running, Bobby Kennedy. So that's definitely, not what we're not going to talk about that tonight, at least not to my knowledge, unless one of my other two co-hosts have something to say about Bobby Kennedy and COVID. But this month we're going to talk about politics, and tonight we're going to talk about the COVID response. It's been a few years since COVID really, plagued our country, and things are kind of going back to normal. As Beyonce said, we're back outside, but you ain't that outside. I think she said that, something close to that. But yeah, so tonight, of course, is going to be a great, awesome episode. And let me drop the Discord. Of course, if you played, pun intended. I guess. I was just thinking it's kind of a plague. But it did plague our country, yeah. But yeah. So for those of you who are new, we usually like to start out each episode just kind of talking about our weekends, just, like a lighthearted conversation, especially since sometimes we have really just kind of deep or heavy topics. I don't know how heavy this topic is going to be, but it's going to be interesting at least. But yeah, chat as always. Let us know what you did over the weekend or just this past week. Anything new, anything continuing. We always love to hear it. For me, Oh my gosh. So yesterday, I've been going to physical therapy for my left shoulder. So this is week 5. It feels like it's been longer, but like I've been making progress, but I feel like the progress has been so slow that it just doesn't feel like I'm making progress, but I have to keep reminding myself, when I do certain movements with my arm and my shoulder, there's either no pain or less pain. And I'm like, okay, the exercises I'm doing at the physical therapist's office is working. And the ones that I'm doing at home are working as well. Cause, you gotta, work out the shoulder like with the mobility and just also strengthen it for stability. So your shoulder isn't doing whatever it wants to do that evening. So I did something called dry needling, and it was, first of all, like it worked. Like my shoulder has felt the best it's felt in an incredibly long time. And I but it was kind of scary because, and this is totally my fault, I totally forgot to actually like research dry needling. Hey Rocky, good to see you. Hey everybody. Yeah, we're just talking about our weekends past week. Anything interesting that happened? Yeah, it's Rocky. Yeah, so I was talking about, my shoulder. So I did something called so he did something called dry needling. Firing. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Um And for those of you who are, in the chat, I posted the Discord link, and yeah, you can join us. Anyone who's just lurking in the chat. Yeah, I posted the Discord link so you can find out what Rocky said about, our old president, Ronald Reagan, former president. I shouldn't say old because I don't think he's alive anymore. But yeah. So it was my bad. I watched like half of a YouTube video about dry needling, and the video was literally like 5 minutes long. I don't know why I just watched it for 5 minutes, for like 2 minutes. I don't know if I ran out of time. I don't know if I was doing something else. I have no idea. So I just go in kind of naive, and he does the dry needling. Like he of course like massages my shoulder, and we do like exercises and like different kinds of things. And then I lay on the table, and he starts putting in the needles. It's like, okay. And then he like starts to hook the needles with like these like electric current things, like I guess like the amps or something. And I'm kind of confused. I'm like, what the heck is he about to do? Like, is he just gonna like explode my shoulder? So he like attaches it to like some like device, and like he like kind of cranks up like the voltage, like the current. And it's supposed to, when like my shoulder starts kind of pulsating, and it's just that it was an uncomfortable feeling. But what it's supposed to do is kind of like inflame some parts of like my shoulder, so it'll kind of like let my brain know that like, hey, this part of my shoulder isn't done healing. So I don't know, I guess my shoulder was just like, yeah, it's good enough, and forgot to heal my shoulder properly. I don't know. I'm doing a crap job explaining it. Like, I guess like it kind of supposed to like remind, like it's supposed to like send like currents to my brain to kind of remind my brain to like continue healing this area, and also to inflame it, like like an inflammation, so it can actually like heal those particular parts of my shoulder. That's like the shoulder is just, it's just not giving. Like the shoulder is just not shouldering, and it needs to. So No, it worked really well because later that evening, I actually went swimming. Usually I swim on Sundays, but I we didn't because there was like tornado warnings. So, we figured being inside was the best option. And yeah, like Sunday I didn't really do anything. So I was like, I don't want to just like wait until next week. So I went swimming later that evening yesterday, and it was my first time actually like swimming and not feeling any pain. So that was really awesome. So that was I was telling the masseuse, you acting totally different with these electrodes. I know. It was it was so weird. And like he's such a like chill guy. Like he's a former NFL player. He's only like a few years older than me. He's like 36. But he's just like a really like chill, down to earth, like just like like kind of like yeah, just a chill guy. So when he's like explaining things, everything just seems like no biggie. It's like yeah, this is what this does, and it does this, and like what that does is that it helps X Y Z. Yeah. No pain. Yes, gay. Are you smiling? No, I tend to put on like. Funny enough, I do tend to put on like some very like worried or kind of like nervous or scared faces because I am genuinely worried or nervous or scared, and he just kind of laughs at me. He's like, "Jeez." I was like, "Are you scared?" I'm like, "I'm not scared. It's just this is weird." But no, it was good. Like yeah, he said I was gonna feel like soreness and pain like that day and today. So like by tomorrow I should be fine. Like I feel like a little bit of like tightness here, but that's probably just something with my trap. I guess I was like working out, so I guess it's not that weird to feel anything, but I don't feel that sore or like hurt or anything. Bickering of an old British couple. Dry needling. It does. It does. But yeah, like I can move my like shoulder and like it's not 100%, but I could definitely like I was having trouble just doing like this motion, and I know it's like why would you do that? And how did you discover that that's the motion that it was hurting you? Whatever, I'll let you guys figure that out. But I was having trouble with that, but like I don't really feel anything. I was actually kind of reluctant to do it because I was like, what if I do feel something? And I'm just lying on the stream this whole time. But I don't really feel anything. Like my shoulders still kind of feels like a little clickety clackety, but it's definitely not as bad as it was before. At least I didn't pull this won't hurt a bit. No, it hurts. Yeah. Yeah, like yeah, he told me like the whole gamut. He was like, some people don't feel pain at all. Some people, feel it kind of bad, but it's nothing like it's nothing that like you can't handle unless you're like just deadly afraid of needles. Fortunately, I'm not, but it was still kind of like, oh, this is gonna like pinch and hurt. And I was like, when was the last time I was like needled? Like usually when you're like drawing blood, you get like a needling or of some kind. But that needle is definitely like whiter because it has to like draw blood. These needles were a lot thinner because they were literally just metal, and because like you connect other things to like for the electric current. So it was just like a really thin metal thing, metal needle that you just put on like certain pressure points. And yeah, it was an experience. I would do it again, but I just don't want to. It's like, ooh, the doctor, it's fun, but it was really cool. However, do you know who is cooler than dry needling? A lot of people, But this specific person is cooler than any dry needling former professional athlete to ever exist. This man, who you all know, and yes, he is a man because, with process of elimination, it would have to be a man unless we had a special guest, but I feel like I would have mentioned that earlier. Anywho, this man is just an absolutely incredible, wonderful human being. He works harder than anyone that I know. I don't know how he does it. I really, truly don't. Like, I feel like, like they need to study his brain and get all of his information in order to just, if they could just make a human being that's like 1/10 of who this man is, then, and just populate the earth, then the world would be it'll just be a lot more amazing place, honestly. So without further ado, let's go with the main goal. I mean, it'd be great if Andre 3000 were here, not gonna lie. Unless he's going through like some kind of scandal. I haven't really been keeping up with him. I don't think he's going through anything. I really can't stand scandals. They're so annoying. Anyway, without further ado, the one, the only, oh man. Oh, okay, he's back. And hopefully, if we can make multiples of him, then he can spread like the Omicron virus. And this is what he's hinting at. Ron.
Ta-da!
Oh,
What's
Ron,
good?
we can't hear you.
Wait, what?
You're not on mute.
Hold up.
No, can't hear.
Oh,
Unless can you hear him, chat? Oh. Yeah, no, this guy, Ron's internet. Oh, you hear him? Why can't I hear him? Maybe I really hope my computer wasn't on mute. All right, come back, Ron. Sorry if I just kind of just.
okay.
No, I can't hear you. Is my audio?
What?
Did I?
That's crazy. How about now?
Oh. Well, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Act like y'all have been hearing me from the MacBook's microphone, not from this. I accidentally did the wrong thing. My bad. I am so sorry. Thank you all. I'm glad that I asked the chat. I'm so glad because Ron would have just been saying amazing things, and I would have been like, "We can't hear you. All of us can't. I'm not crazy."
But you know what? It's crazy because when I was backstage, I could hear you perfectly fine. I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay, that's good. Like the MacBook's built-in microphone is good.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the Shure mic is better because I feel like it's just a lot more like, I don't know, condensed.
It is.
Okay.
It is. And even then, when I was looking at getting a new mic for my computer, I was looking at getting the either getting the Yeti, not the Yeti. No, yeah, it is the Yeti. No, the Blue Yeti,
Yeah.
not the Snowball, but the Yeti.
Yeah,
And
the long mic.
Yeah, the one that's kind of like well, they have a smaller one.
They
They have
do?
a yeah. Oh yeah. They got a
Okay.
small. It's like the Yeti Nano. It's like it's almost like your Shure mic, but just a tad bit smaller. And I was like, you know what? I would not mind investing in that because, I mean, I like the one on my headset. It works perfectly fine. But then again, depending upon what I'm doing, I feel as though that I may have to talk a little bit louder for for everything to be heard, which in my case, because I'm naturally like a soft-spoken person, I feel like I'm
Mhm.
yelling.
Mm. Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm a pretty soft-spoken person sometimes too. Like,
Yeah.
so I get that.
Yeah. So I was at Best Buy. I think it was probably about like earlier this year doing mic pricing, and I saw the Yeti Nano. I was like, I want that one. I want that one. So that's that. But then again, like you, the microphone that I have on my current laptop, it works fine. There's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with it, but it does get a little wonky. It does get very wonky. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not necessarily going to deal with that one. I'm gonna just use what I got. So that's that. Other than that, weekend has been phenomenal.
That's
Bitter
good.
cold, but phenomenal. The Friday probably was the one good day that I had to actually get out in the garden and do some cleaning up and whatnot. And I also took that day, Friday, to start on the inside, growing the seeds and whatnot, because outside was still a bit too cold, way too cold and whatnot. So started doing that Friday, and then even then now I got a few of my seeds actually starting to sprout, which is a good
Nice.
thing. Which is
That
a
is,
good thing. However, because it, go ahead.
I said no. That is a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was it.
yeah. And so, no, you're good. You're good. And so, with that being said, because I got them sprouting on the inside, outside it is still like below 50 degrees. Like right now, we're still sitting at 40.
Mm.
I mean, I do believe so, because what we've been getting for the past few days was like a snow rain mix, and it sucks. It sucks bad. Like yesterday, it snowed for like half of the day, and then in between the snow, it rained just to snow back all over again to turn back into rain, and it did that off and on all day yesterday, and even today it started off snowing, but with the sun kind of peeking its head out, it turned it to rain. But then again, it rained for a little bit, then it stopped, to rain again, to stop, to rain again. And it didn't help that the wind was blowing at the same time, too. So it just made everything feel like super colder than what it was. And the kids like, man, why are we outside? It's too cold to be outside. I'm like, yeah, I agree. We should be inside, because this is a type of weather where if you're not careful, you're gonna mess around and get sick. And
Mm.
that's not good at all.
Mm.
That's not good at all. I mean, they already had to push back one of the track meets up because of the weather. But then again, if it's going to be as cold as it is the last past 2 days, I will be highly surprised if they continue to run. And even then, my son, my oldest son, he is still going through that hamstring. Is He's still going through that hamstring rehabilitation. And even then, he's like, Daddy's like, I really, he's like, I want to run, but then again, because I know it's going to be cold, and I know that with the temperature being how it is, it's not good for sprinters. Long distance runners, they can deal with that. But as a sprinter, he was like, I'm more so worried about me running in my event, and I'm hurting my hamstring a lot more than what I need to be. He said, because I actually still want to play football this next season. But if I mess around and get injured during this track meet, it really could push my football career out to like half the season. He's like, I don't want that. I'm like, dude, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Like, if you have to harass your trainer to give you a definite answer as far as if you are fully cleared to run, then go for it. Or if you're not fully cleared to run, then don't do it because that's the last thing you need to happen, period.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even one of his teammates went through a similar thing. He had messed his leg up doing one of the field events, and we thought it was okay, cool, great. It's like, okay, no big deal. But when he again worked with the trainer, came back, and it was like, yeah, I could run, to only mess it up even further. And so when it came to running cross country, he had to sit the rest of the whole cross country meet out because he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it at all. And so I remember I think I remember bumping into him to like one of the basketball games, and I was asking about his leg, like, how's your leg doing? Everything. He was like, it's good, it's great. It's like, so are you? It's like, did you run cross? He's like, no, I didn't run cross because still nursing my leg injury that I got the season before, and so still trying to make sure my legs are good because I want to run track. I'm like, are you going to be cleared to run track though? He was like, well, according to the trainer, I should be. According to my doctor, I better be. And he was like, I want to run. I was like, I can't run cross, but I still want to run track. Like, dude, go.
Yeah, I think Ron's just having some connectivity issues, and that I did see. I wasn't able to hear him at first, but I did see that. Um, yeah, no, it sucks. It's like when Michigan is trying to quiet our man Ron, but he wasn't saying anything controversial, at least not yet. Probably trying to stop him soon. Trying to get behind the like yeah. Um no, like 1 second. As someone who's also going through like an injury, not as, you know, serious as his son, it is like it is like sucky how long it takes for, like things and like the muscles to heal. Like I feel like, we're in a society that we just expect everything immediately. So when you're trying to like heal from something or get over something, like it just takes an incredibly long time. Um and it just makes you really sad. Like shut it down like Kahi? What? I don't understand that. Um but yeah, like I feel like we feel as though everything should be instant. We have streaming services and things like that, instant gratification in some ways. People think online dating is instant and it's for sex when it's really not. You have to be in New York City and walking distance and just be incredibly gorgeous and I don't know. Even that still it's not as easy as people make it out to be. It's really not. Hey, girl. And no worries. You are not late. You are right on time. The party doesn't start until you show up. Hey, here's the man of the hour.
Boom.
Yeah.
We're gonna get it through. We're gonna get it through, you guys. We are going to get this thing through.
Kawhi.
Oh yeah,
He's-
Kawhi Leonard.
I tried snapping my fingers. Like, I'm not Thanos. I can't. Nothing really happens. Or I'm not in the Adams family.
Right.
I can snap my fingers instantaneously, but I can't make things happen instantaneously. Unfortunately, I am just not that girl yet. It'd be awesome.
Let's go. Let's go.
I mean,
I like that.
the stories I hear of some women, though, of just like men paying for their entire vacation just unannounced. It's wild.
Yeah.
Trying to think what was the coolest thing I got for free from a guy. Food, drinks.
Hmm.
I don't. I know a girl who I don't know. I can't remember if she was dating the guy probably, but he bought her an air fryer. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't particularly want an air fryer, but I think it would be awesome if a guy just on a whim bought me an air fryer. Granted, my boyfriend did buy me a kickboard, swim goggles, and a pool buoy to help with swimming. But that was really, really sweet of him.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. Yeah, he definitely gets me things. Nothing like a BMW that apparently this girl got from a guy somehow. And the guy just bought her a BMW. What about the women paying for men's vacations and lifestyle? How often is that? I'm not saying that's not a thing. I'm just curious. If I had the money, I definitely would do that for a man, for sure. Getting gifts or food, how isn't that rare? Hell, I know it's not. I mean, yeah, especially like where you and I live, Rocky, like South Florida and California. Yeah, that wouldn't really be that rare. I remember when I was flying to Colorado, I sat next to this woman who I don't know if she ever met the man, but I heard her like, oh, like I overheard her on the phone talking to a friend saying that this guy like was flying her out. Like that's sweet. The air fryer is weird in my opinion. I agree. I think it would be cool to receive an air fryer, but I would just know it would just take up space.
Mm.
Kill nobody does that.
Well, hold on. To Chad's point, in my school, I pretty much do that. I pretty much do everything at my school. This besides probably be a principal, but everything else, yeah, been there, done that.
No, I couldn't do that. I'm kind of curious, Gil. One of your women friends pays for her man's vacations and all that. Yeah, that's pretty awesome, honestly. If she has the money. Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Mhm.
Chad had some clarification going on.
Oh, what's going on? I mean, whatever weird circumstance you say, someone. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
I'm just saying, like what I've actually heard. You know, either from that person directly or from somebody else who spoke to somebody. Like, it's 1 degree of separation or 2. It's not like that far. I mean, it's not that crazy to think. I know, but it's still like, I don't know. Some women just kind of like got it. And it's not, I understand it's not that hard. A lot of it is just like, I don't know, confidence and knowing who to speak to and where to go. Like, I know I could go to a casino and probably sit at the bar and attract some men. And they probably have a lot of money and they probably have a lot of money to spend. It's just, I wouldn't really want that. Like,
Mm.
I feel like this is gonna sound weird. It's gonna be a weird comparison. I feel like that's a way that's a weird equivalent to getting into like the drug game, but for dating. You know, it's like, oh, you see these people with all these things and all this stuff. Like, I want stuff. How do I do that? And it's like, it's a little sketch. I get why you want the stuff, and I get why you may actually need the stuff. I'm not even talking about prostitution or anything or sex work. That's not what I'm getting at all. Like, there are some people, like there are some women who literally just exist and men buy them things. Okay, that's pretty cool. I don't know. I feel like that would just still be weird for me, depending on the stuff. When I say stuff, I'm talking about big stuff, like BMWs and trips, like all expense paid trips to Cabo and the Maldives, kind of thing. Not an air fryer. It's all about the ability to have a straight face while looking at a weird ball, from what I gather. Oh my god. Except for free, they're rarely ever free, and people have to make sure they're willing to pay the bill. Exactly. Thank you, Rocky. It's that. It's that. It is possible when there's actually no bill. Like, it is a thing. I have seen it. It's a thing. It does exist.
Mhm.
It's just rare. It is just very, very rare. The stuff comes with a lifestyle and it costs more than money. Yeah. Yeah. Down here in South Florida, especially, there's a lot of, I shouldn't say like a lot, but there's more than you'd expect of straight men entertaining older gay rich men for stuff and things. One of my good friends told me about this one guy who apparently was interested in doing that, and he expressed that to her. So my friend was like recanting that story. Then she told me that there have been several guys who have told her about this, where they would, it's like, well, I don't really want to call it gay for pay, but it is. Yeah, it is. You know, older gay men say, "Hey, I'll take you on an awesome trip to Greece." That's awesome. That's amazing. That's incredible.
Facts.
Yeah. My theory seems to be holding. Yeah, but that's rare. That there's no catch, and most times even then. Worry about that step turning into a stalker eventually. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't really consider them like, I guess like the men I'm thinking of are just older. don't really consider them to be like simps. Okay. Yo, man, times are tough. Times are tough. And it makes sense, and especially in South Florida, we have just a bunch of gorgeous broke men, honestly. And when I say broke, I mean, just not that they can't date women sort of thing. It's just they can barely keep their head above water with paying their bills broke and are getting desperate broke. Not like living paycheck to paycheck broke, meaning like less than paycheck to less than paycheck, trying to figure things out. Desperate broke. Okay. Anyways, I know that this is like a weird topic to be talking about when we're talking about COVID response. Although, this actually does lead this is an effect of COVID, honestly. Not gay for pay, no. That's always been around. It's just people losing their jobs due to COVID and
Yes.
the rent going astronomically through the roof high, especially in South Florida. And because everybody was moving down here, people with like big money were moving down here and paying whatever for rent, because like a studio apartment in New York City, would be like 400 square feet, something ridiculous. And they'd be paying maybe like $2,400, $3,000 a month, just rent. And they weren't even really allowed outside, especially during COVID, during the Cuomo years and whoever was mayor of New York at the time. Oh, what's his face? Was it Bill de Blasio? Who was mayor of New York, City? Yeah, so like people weren't like, the streets were practically empty. No one was really doing anything, understandably so, because COVID in New York City was rabid. I mean, it was rabid everywhere. Once people started actually traveling and moving even just the tiniest a bit. And Florida was absolutely horrible, to the point that our governor wanted the woman who was in charge of keeping track of like the databases and everything of who was getting COVID and things like that. Wanted her to lie about information, and then ended up like firing her and hiring somebody to essentially cover the truth because of fascism. So because of people losing their jobs, people getting sick for long periods of time, and unable to work, there was just like a lot of shift in the landscape. So it's not that New York City people flooded Philly for a bit there. Oh, absolutely, because Philly was, I don't know if it still is, but it definitely was like a cheaper city. But, people are getting desperate to figure out what exactly to do. Because sadly enough, you need money to live. And we got those measly stimulus checks. We got like 3 in total. And there had to be like so much legislation and talk and back and forth and all this crap just to give us some money.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, so like I'm kind of just going all over the place with this. This is just, I guess, like more like just like a broad overview of this. If you're remembering the the COVID, the early COVID months, like if you were to just go back literally 3 years, pretty much to the day,
Mm.
we
Mhm.
were all working from home. So many people were laid off.
Mhm.
We're constantly watching the news, just trying to figure out what to do next. People were against masks because their leader told them to be, and we made mask a political issue, and that pissed me the hell off.
Mhm.
Like, because people were out here bitching and moaning, saying, "Oh, I can't breathe with the mask on. I can't." It's not like surgical masks were a new invention. You've gone to doctors' offices and you've seen people with surgical masks. You've seen this.
Agreed.
They're literally in ORs, operating rooms
Mhm.
for like 12, 13 hours straight with masks on. Why, you may ask? Because they probably have somebody's whole back sliced open and they have to be super sterile and clean, and they also have to talk to one another. And when you talk, germs and mucus come out.
Mhm.
So if you're saying, "Hey, can you pass me the scapula?" If that's, I think that's a thing. And I'm probably getting body parts confused when it comes to, because I think we have, I think our shoulder has a scap. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but like, y'all know what I'm talking about. Give me my sharp object.
Scalpel.
Scalpel. Thank you. Thank you.
Got you.
Scapula is the shoulder. Sorry, y'all. I've been in physical therapy
I
with my
got
shoulder.
you. I got you.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So if they're saying, "Hey, pass me my scalpel," they have to verbally say that, and because they can't use sign language because they're probably holding things, and
Mhm.
so, and you can't read lips because you have the mask on because it's to prevent germs from flying into this person's back.
Mhm.
So it was just wild to me that people were just that, like, I don't know if it's like ignorant or stupid or both. I know I'm, might be offending y'all or some of y'all's like friends or family. I don't know, maybe because like I've watched anime my whole life, and whenever a character was sick, they had a mask on. So,
Mhm.
so I would see that. I was like, oh, okay, that's what they do in Asia. When I went to Japan, there were people with masks on if they were sick. Like that's just what they did. And now I think that's absolutely genius because, like, obviously, and a lot of these civilizations and cultures are like thousands of years old, while America's not even
Mhm.
1,000 years old yet. Well, like, the United States of America, it's not 1,000 years old yet. It was like 500, if that, 400 and something. Eh,
If that.
yeah. So we're not even 1,000 years old yet, and I understand that we're supposed to be like fighting and beefing with China, but it's like, okay, all the other Asian countries are masking. South Korea, China. I mean, South Korea, Japan. I mean, I'm sure Singapore, uh, Hong Kong. They were also going through massive protests. I think that was probably like a year or so later. Can't remember when Hong Kong was going through their protests. Taiwan, like everywhere had masks. In Asia, South Korea, I remember I think their entire country has a population of like 50 million, if I recall correctly. Um, if anybody wants to look it up, and they had like a really bad outbreak and were able to really just keep it down because of masks, social distancing, testing often, and yeah, and definitely like staying home if they got sick. Like it was common sense when you think back on it. And granted, yeah, hindsight is 2020.
Hmm.
It's just so frustrating living in this country sometimes because there's always going to be contrarians. We can't all just agree on something, And
Hmm.
it's not even like we can't we couldn't even agree that a pandemic was serious. We couldn't that it was something serious to take. We're all just caring about ourselves. And truth be told, businesses like there were several businesses and companies that were just caring about their bottom line at the end of the day. And it's hurtful because a lot of these people wanted to stay home. A lot of these people were high risk, but they had to work because they needed to provide for their family because you need money to survive. So desperate times come for desperate measures. Like OnlyFans was getting really huge. Um, and of course, like I don't want to say you're only on OnlyFans, like you're only participating and using OnlyFans for due to desperation. If whatever you do on OnlyFans, whether it's sex work or I don't know, showing awesome pictures of your garden, uh, you know, some people use OnlyFans for G-rated things. So
Okay.
regardless of what it is, I support you. It doesn't have to necessarily be due to desperation. If you started it due to desperation, I support that as well. I'm not saying anything. I'm not trying to be against that. I'm not being like, oh, this person got so desperate they had to like resort and were sad. And like, if that's what you want to do, I support you. Like, I don't, I'm not judging you. It's just, I understand. I understand why you may have to resort to literally doing anything. Like, I get it. Hey, Mish.
Mish, what's happening?
Hey. Um, but yeah, Ron, do you want to, yeah,
Oh
say
yeah.
anything? Yeah,
Oh yes.
like this.
Because living in rural America that is heavy conservative sucks. Oh my goodness. It it doesn't help that, of course, like I said, the city of Three Rivers, that's the city where I live in, it's heavily conservative. Heavily conservative. And the mention or the thought of wearing a mask was like the biggest infringement of their rights. And I'm like,
I know.
how is wearing a mask an infringement of your right when we have a whole total pandemic that is happening? And ha ha, Mish, I appreciate that sentiment. I appreciate that sentiment. Thank you, thank you. Far too kind, far too kind.
I agree.
And if y'all can't see, I'm like smiling from ear to ear. I love it. um, And even then, during the pandemic, I actually lost my job at a manufacturing plant where I was in charge of ordering all the supplies, not just for my plant, but for the neighboring plant just as well. So I was responsible to get all of the stuff in. And when I saw that the items that we were needing that we couldn't get through because they were already running out of stock, and I fought against not only my group lead, not only my manager, not only the plant manager, but the person who stamped the okay to make sure that those orders went through. Um, as North in North Michigan as Farrell. Like how far north are we talking? Are we talking about UP North or are we talking about Lower Peninsula but still north? Because going if you went to, like, let's say Traverse City, it's a city in the lower part of Michigan. It's still north, and the people there are very laid back. It is very liberal. If I could say that honestly, yes, Traverse City is very liberal, very liberal. When I mean very liberal, I mean it's 420 friendly. There was like a 420 shop on every corner that you could pretty much walk to of anywhere. Let's see. I'm telling you, yeah. And they all had a big meeting in my little cubicle, ish, if you want to call it, or my storage area, if you want to call it. And they were like, "Well, how come we can't get these in? We need these in if this is going to be this bad." I'm like, dude, I can't get nothing in because it's out of stock. All the stuff that we normally get, I can't get in. Like, for instance, toilet paper. Couldn't get that in. Why? It was going out of stock. Paper towels. Couldn't get that in. Why? It was going out of stock. The alcohol bottles that we normally use. Couldn't get that in. Why? It was going out of stock. And even as I'm sitting there putting in the um the order, and I'm telling them that, listen, we're going to be on back order. There's nothing I can do to speed up the process. And even my warehouse, even my representative that I was very cool with, had a good relationship with, he was like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. If it's out of stock, it's out of stock. And if we can get it in to supply you guys, that's going to be a huge factor. And I told them, like, if that's the case, I may not come in because you are not only putting myself at risk, you're putting my kids at risk because you're putting the plant at risk. Like, I don't think anybody should be coming in until further notice. And so, of course, yeah, yes, I'm telling you, got receipts. And so when, of course, they shut the plant down for like what, a month, 2 months, and my group lead asked, called us like, hey, are you planning on coming in? We need all hands on deck. I told them no. There's no way because I don't feel that the company has my best interest at heart. I don't think the company has anybody's best interest
Mm.
other than, what Elle was saying before I got rudely interrupted by service, whatever. That the fact that I don't think the company has the best interest of the people at heart. I don't. And I don't feel safe. I do not and will not only put myself in a harm's way, but I will not and do not want to put my kids in harm's way. Ain't no way. And then again, on top of that, because of the fact that the the kids were at home because school was done and over with. They were, virtual learning. The fact that my mom couldn't watch them because, of course, she has multiple sclerosis, so she definitely wasn't watching them. No way, like, ain't no way. There's no way. There is no way. No way. And so I was like, the only person who's pretty much going to be who's able to do anything for this fact of the matter will probably be my wife, because at her job, at least she has the protection and the gear needed in order for her to do her job. I don't get that at my job. I don't get that at all. And so, they asked for a written statement from a wife saying everything I just told them. I'm like, sure, go for it. I still have the email of what she written down and what I sent off. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna have to let you go. I'm like, that's fair. Like, okay, but just do understand that you're not going to be protecting a lot of people at that place. And sure enough, probably about like a month after me being let go, probably 2 months after me being let go, the plant had to close down anyways, because 90% of the workers caught COVID, especially at the plant that I was working at. They caught COVID. Then they had to shut it down again because the other plant, again, about 90% of them, guess what happened? Caught COVID. And so, when it came back, I was like, listen, this is the reason why I said I was not coming back, because of that specific reason. Don't ask me to come back. I really don't care how much you're paying me. I don't, because what you're paying me is not worth the headache, the issues, and the struggles of me getting COVID. And especially that it's not worth it. It's not. And even then, like, I've met a bunch of people who used to work there who see me outside, and we're talking. We're like, yeah, like, did you ever go back? Like, no. Like, I lost my job because of that. They was like, well, I lost my job because I got messed around. I got hit with COVID. I told them that I was going to be out for like 2 weeks, and even then, and went through my whole family. Once went through my whole family, I was like, I can't do this. Like, no, there's no way. There is no way you expect me to come back into work, especially in an environment where it's dirty, it's filthy. Half the people are dirty and filthy. They don't care about their hygiene. Like, I don't want to work in that environment. And then to turn around and bring that back to my kids, ain't no way.
Right, exactly.
Ain't no way. And so it was just one of those realities where I was one of those outliers, I guess you would call them, who had lost their job during the pandemic and had to be on unemployment for like that first, well, pretty much for the rest of the year. I was on unemployment for the rest of the year.
Hmm.
And even then, I don't think I ever shared this with anybody because of what happened with COVID. So this is pretty much going to be the first time. So yeah, because even then, even with me being on unemployment, that was a whole headache, because everybody in Michigan who pretty much either got laid off or fired because of their refusal of going into work because of COVID stuff, you know, it was just a hassle to get everything caught up. And so everything was backlogged, trying to work things out with my landlord was backed, but eventually, you know, Michigan decided to get everything worked out, which was cool, which is great. Like, yes, like now we can, you know, possibly do stuff and just live life and not have to worry about struggling and this, that, and the third. And so that 2020 was, man, yeah. Yeah.
What did JP Morgan Chase do? I didn't hear anything. But yeah. Like let me know, Rocky, in the comments. But no,
Oh yeah.
Rocky's absolutely right about the smart choice is rarely like the short term choice. And it is so sad.
It is, and it sucks because me and the missus, we were talking. Actually, we were kind of talking about this similar topic about a few days ago,
Mm.
and she was like, she's like, well, she said it's funny because a lot of people are complaining that a lot of people who don't want to work. We got all these people are hiring and jobs are hiring this, that, and the third. And she's like, so like, what's the deal? It's like, have you not like learned from what happened during the pandemic? Like, the pandemic actually opened up the various inequalities that's been plaguing America for years.
Hmm.
It took the pandemic to bring that to light, and people are saying, "Wait a minute, you mean to tell me that you want me to come back to work in the same crappy position at the same crappy plays for the same crappy amount for what? When I was able to enjoy my freedom, and meaning that I wasn't necessarily stuck down to a 9 to 5, but went and started my own business and it's actually flourishing. Why in the world would I want to give that up? Why would I want to sacrifice that? And so she was like, well, what about those people that are entrepreneurs? Like, what's going to happen to them? Like, how they're going to help the economy? Like, well, you got to think about it like this. The only reason why they were able to do the 9 to 5 anyways because they didn't have time to figure out what they actually wanted to do with their life. You had generations of people who went and worked at the same company that Grandpa Joe did and his father did and his father did for generations. And so when that plant closed, what do you expect them to do? Go to
Right.
school, get a skill, and do something? No, they had nothing because that's all they knew. However, during the pandemic, if people actually thought about this and did it properly and correctly, all that time that they had on their hands to kind of fit around and figure out, like, okay, what I want to do in my life because I really don't like the job that I had. It paid good, but it still sucked because I still had to work 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 plus hours a week just to maintain for what?
Right. And
I wasn't.
it didn't give you any time. And didn't give them any time to find another job or update their resume and
Mhm.
really take the time out to actually look for another job or figure out what it is that they actually want to do. No, exactly. Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I told her, like, you got to think about that because the difference between the top 1% and your average American is the top 1%. They're entrepreneurs, plain and simple. They have money to just throw away because they can make more money to replace it. And so once people finally caught on, like, well, wait a minute, you know, with the money that I'm actually getting, I can actually put this to use and I can actually make something out of myself. So I don't necessarily have to go to work. That my greatest asset that I had at the point in time was my time. And my time is
Mhm.
valuable. And I realize how valuable my time is. And so when people put those two together, why go back to work? Why work a typical 9 to 5 when they could do something else that's more meaningful to them? And so she was like, they think about it like that. Like, yeah, like COVID brought out the good, the bad, and the ugly out of America. And now people are probably living their best life. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. And so
Mhm.
we're like, so she's like, so what about the people who are, going to school and getting their degrees and this, that, and the third? It's like, well, you also got to think about it like this too. Because of the fact of what happened in 2020, you fast forward to 2021, with a lot of people not actually returning back to work, there needed something else to be happening. And so, if anybody remembers reading The War on Number People from Andrew Yang,
Mm-hmm.
what the Andrew Yang pointed out that eventually jobs are going to be automated.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be automated. And so, when those things are becoming automated, guess what's really going to be taken out first? The jobs that really doesn't really need you to be there. It's like, well, get like this. Case in point. Case in point. Like when AI was first coming out, it was still a little rough around the edges. It wasn't perfected. It was, you know, still fairly new. Okay. And it was still being implemented in various places. So like if you were to go to the airport and probably like get, a bag of popcorn,
Mm-hmm.
there's probably a robot who's actually whose sole job is to pop popcorn and serve it to you when you ask for it. That's it. Or make you a burger or make you a pizza when you're at the airport. Like think about that now. If that's being successful and it's done well, and the only person really that's needed to make sure that that kiosk or that station is running properly is somebody is a programmer, okay, you pay the programmer $30 an hour just to do that. Okay, cool, great, that's done. You're
Right.
not paying. You're not paying anybody else to do that. You're not responsible for all the other expenses that comes with if you had to pay a whole person to do the same job. Like, no, you take that off. The only thing you probably have to worry about is what paying the electric bill or paying the rent space. That's it. That's nothing because you're making more than what you're putting out before that. And so she was like, okay. It's like, so, and again, that's just in 2021. This is 2023. And you think about a whole department pretty much getting cut in half, that's being automated away. Another department is being automated away. You may have like, a smaller section of that same department there just to kind of keep the lights on, to keep everything going running smoothly. But then again, they're probably only there because of seniority. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, they're probably going to be next too. So that whole department very soon could very well be automated away. And especially the way how AI is being evolved very rapidly at a very rapid pace. It's like, yeah. And again, it's so AI has gotten so sophisticated now where you call into a call center, you may think you're talking to an actual person. No, you're talking to a robot, but you would never know. You would never know unless you like pay really, really close attention to what's being said and how business is being conducted. And so she was like, wow, like, okay, mind blowing. Like, yeah, it is. But at the same time, you got to think that's where, for the most part, that's where a lot of jobs are heading towards now. And it's sad that it had to take the pandemic to bring everything to light. But at the same time, if people weren't necessarily sure about having a plan B just in case, they better have one now and quick because if another pandemic hits the United States like COVID did, we're in for a very long and rough ride. That's all I'm gonna say.
And COVID already was a really long and rough ride.
Yes.
Um, I did want to piggyback and off of what you were saying about AI, Ron,
Hmm.
because Chat GPT, for example, like it's everyone's talking about it. Everybody has hopefully used it. Like if you haven't, you're gonna have to because it's pretty much gonna be like the new Google, if not already. Like it has its issues for sure. It's not
Hmm.
perfect at all. However, it's like it is just right there. Like it is so close to being like where it needs to be. like I know that companies are already like laying off people. Like I remember hearing about BuzzFeed. Like there's definitely going to be, I guess, like when we think of AI, we're always thinking of certain kinds of things. Like we knew about self-driving cars and trucks. I'm sure trains aren't far behind, if not already. What else? The self-checkout at CVS and certain places like
Mhm.
grocery stores. But yeah, exactly what Rocky is pointing out. Like you can kiss
Yes.
paralegals, entry-level attorneys, accountants, some educators, and many other white collars. Yeah, like
Yes.
writers. Like I guess I wasn't really think like for coding for an extent. There's like I don't know. Like there are certain things that like it can code. It's still not well. It just feels like I'm managing somebody. Like whenever I just play with it myself, like I feel like I'm just kind of a manager. I talk to it like
Mhm.
clients talk to me when they want me to code something. And it's pretty remarkable for what it can do. It
Mhm.
can definitely just spit out something amazing very quickly. It's just you need somebody to fine tune it. So
Right.
it's pretty much like a junior developer and I'm their senior developer. So when I get whatever they print out, I look at it. I'm like, okay, this is what needs to be fixed. Sometimes I can even tell it. I've told it, hey, on line 6, you have this. This is what's messing it up. And I remember one time, its line 6 was different than my line 6. And it took me a while to realize that. And I told it, I said, no, it looks like my line 6 is your line 7. I said something like that. It's like, and it understood and it fixed the thing. Or at least it acknowledged it. I don't think it quite fixed it, but
Hmm.
it understood what I was saying. Like it has very great levels of understanding. And the more we use it, the more it gets better, especially when you try to help it. And it is just absolutely remarkable and terrifying in certain regards because it definitely can. I don't know if I don't know if I've said this on this podcast, and I know I've said this to my boyfriend, but it can, of course, write school papers and things like that. I can
Mhm.
easily see high schoolers BSing through school with like, especially if they have a BS teacher, because every school has that, where the teacher is just essentially a babysitter, gives them an assignment, and just farts around on their cell phone and doesn't really pay attention, you know, because the students are 16, 17, 18 years old anyway, so they can pretty much watch over themselves. My fear is, and we're already starting to see that, starting to see this, is because we equate money to intelligence and wisdom for some reason in this country.
Come on.
I can see a lot of people utilizing AI to strike gold, get very wealthy, or at least appear wealthy as an influencer or a content creator of some kind,
Mhm.
or appear essentially better than you, like knowledgeable, and just be like, oh, you got to do this, 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 and that, and blah, blah, blah. And this is how you can get successful like me. While they're just, on a green screen background of a really high quality green screen background, which looks very real. And you're just sitting here believing this, and they might be making a ton of money, or they might actually create something using AI, make a ton of money, and are out here running the world, or making big decisions, influencing a lot of people when they themselves aren't very knowledgeable about anything. I mean, we've seen the whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing with FTX, where people were just gassing him up essentially, making him seem as though he was very intelligent and the next Warren Buffett, and then he became the next Rupert Murdoch. No, not Rupert Murdoch. Bernie Madoff. He went from Warren Buffett. He went from Buffett to Madoff because he just swindled a whole bunch of people essentially, and like we're already seeing that. And I have a feeling we're going to see just a lot more frauds and phonies striking gold, making it big, and it's going to be headache inducing because they're going to be out here trying to convince people, you just have to work hard. It's like, dude, you have AIs doing everything. You're not working. you're not doing anything. You're just like throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks, which is partly about entrepreneurship and building things, of course, but I guess essentially, just keep yourself humble. Don't try to act like a know-it-all.
Yes.
Because people
Agreed.
will be listening because you are rich and take you way too seriously. I think they understand. TED Talkers flashing wealth. I think they understand way more than they actually do. Yeah. People who have literally zero imposter syndrome, just like they think that they deserve to be here because like they worked hard when they really just ran. They just, paid the $70 a month for several different AI programs and struggled. It takes money to make money. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking way too old school. I don't care if people get rich. I just care if they start acting as if they know it all. That's essentially my point. He's in jail right now because he made a serious mistake. He stole from other rich people. That's true. That's really true.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what though? Toby mentioned something to us and started doing some digging. And I'll share two in the Discord as well, you guys. But the one thing that I ran across was, should we apologize to, or should we get an apology from the people who had to make like really tough decisions based upon the little information they had about COVID and wanted to kind of spin it that way? Because I think that's like that's a very interesting take on COVID, because yes, it was still fairly new to the world, and I have some I have some conspiracy theories about that one. I don't know if I want to air that on the air right now, but if we're going to look on things, I would be the type of person where I'm like, no, because if we were to say, okay, we're going to go to war, and because we're going to this war, we're going to do what we need to do to win it. So once the war is done and over with, you want people to turn around and apologize for going to war? That doesn't make sense at all. So when I read like a few articles and everything else, watched a video. I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, okay, we're dealing with something very new. And of course, with who will be apologizing? So we'll put it like this. Dr. Fauci, he'll probably be one of the ones apologizing for using his medical expertise as far as saying how we should navigate handling COVID, or my governor, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, for putting the state on lockdown mode because of the fact that the virus was spreadable. And if we want to stay healthy, then the best thing to do is to avoid large crowds as possible, get a vaccine, wear a mask, and even if you don't want to get the vaccine, still wear a mask. You know, the things that actually make sense, we should apologize for. I know Seeger from Seeger and Crystal Ball, or from the Rising, whoever, he was saying that a lot of people were angry at the fact that kids were out of school for the fact of the matter, and that within, well, he said within a 6 month period, as far as the data was shown, that kids were pretty much immune to catching COVID, which I found very stupid, but I'm not going to go there. And so it made the argument like, well, if kids are immune, then why are schools being closed and remaining closed? And I had to sit down and think about it for a minute, because I'm like, well, for one, kids aren't necessarily like immune as we think we are, or think they are, because they're not. Because even in my oldest, he like, since him going back to school, he messed around. Yeah, that too. But even then, we'll go here. We do this. And again, I was trying to give him a benefit of the doubt. Like, I wanted to actually hear his argument. I actually want to hear his argument. And it was like, okay, I could kind of see the point. But then again, the one thing that I said too before was the fact of the matter that COVID brought a lot of harsh realities to the forefront. The reason why what most people wanted their kids to go to school is for the fact of the matter, if actually forced the parents to be what? Parents, and not have schools look like daycare centers, and especially if your child was acting the fool at home, 9 times out of 10, your child was also acting the fool at school. So you kind of putting off your parental responsibilities off of somebody else who's not the parent of your child. Like, that's your kid, It's so I sat there, I'm like, man, that's kind of crazy. People would think that, but then again, because I do work in education, and I see both ends of the same spectrum, or both ends of the same stick, it's like, wow, that's nuts. That's very nuts. Very nuts. I mean, and let's see. Let me just highlight this again. Okay. And again, I hear you. I hear you when you say that. Like, guess it'd be nice. Let's see. Did that one get switched over? Please tell me that one got switched over. All right, I'm back. I was trying to pull up this one. Yeah, in chat, I would agree with you with this one. I would agree with you on this one because again, I don't want an apology from my. I'm gonna speak for just for myself. I don't want my governor Gretchen Whitmer to apologize for doing what she thought was in in the best interest for the state, for the citizens and the residents of Michigan. Even if it meant like talking to doctors who are especially those who are like experts in virology, where they study viruses and the way how they act, manipulate, and all that other good stuff. If you're talking to those kind of people and you have them in your corner, that's helping you to navigate pretty much the daily lives of your residents who actually look up to you. I don't want an apology from that because you did the absolute best that you could possibly do to make sure everybody was safe. You know, Unfortunately, did we have some people here die from COVID in Michigan? Sure, we
Mhm.
did. Did we have some people who are still suffering from the long term effects of COVID? Yeah, sure. Do we still have people catching COVID here in the state of Michigan? Yes, sure, we do. We do. But at the same time, and even then, like, have there been people who recovered from getting COVID? Yeah, you're talking to one right now, and it sucked. The worst experience ever. It sucked. And it's just one of those things where it's like, sometimes in order for you to make sure that you still have a tomorrow to live for is to make sure you worry about what you need to do for today. I think Elle said it wonderfully in one of her podcast episodes where it's like, whatever you want to do for your tomorrow self, do it today. Do it today.
Right.
Will it suck? Sure. Will you not like it? Sure. Is it beneficial? Sure. Will it help your future self? Absolutely. 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 And so again, I don't want her to apologize because again, I thought she did what was best. I thought she did what was necessary. But again, like I said before, because I live in rural America that is heavily conservative, they're going to try to do whatever possible to try to get it out in the open. But then again, knowing her, she'll probably apologize, but she will do it in such a very snarky way, which I would laugh and retweet the mess out that video. Oh yeah, I would just because, just because. Why not? But even then, she's a mom, so it's like,
Mhm.
okay, she's a mom. She's a whole entire mom. Not a half a mom, not a quarter of a mom, not even three quarters. No, she's a whole entire mom. A
Mhm.
whole entire mom. And she has girls of her own that are around about like my daughter and my oldest son age. So it's
Oh.
like I get that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. So I get that. I get that. I respect that fully.
Yeah, and also because of our president at the time, it was pretty much just, given to the states to deal with it. And there are certain things that, shouldn't just be left for the states to deal with. I feel like the only state that kind of probably could have done their own thing was Wyoming because they only have like 500,000 people. But like they
True.
got the space to socially
Ex-
distance. Like they're like as big as Colorado. And it's like, yeah, you got space. But
right.
the thing is that because it was left up to the states, the virus doesn't care what state you're in. Like it doesn't. It's not like, oh, we're in Florida, so I could just be, more laxed because of, XYZ. Maybe because of, being in Florida, depending on the time of year, people are probably outside.
Hmm.
So it's just harder to spread outside. It's just harder to spread outdoors. So that could have been helpful at one point. But once summer arose, it was a lot more difficult because everybody stayed inside because we have centralized air conditioning, and outside is disgusting. Is absolutely egregious during the summer. So, granted, people were doing small groups. We can't control that, and understandably so. If we had better leadership at the top, people would have at least been able to, you know, people would have been able to take this a lot more seriously. It's
Hmm.
true. No matter how you try to slice it, no matter how you try to cut it, there would have been, certain governors in certain states trying to do their own thing. But because the president at the time pretty much gave the go ahead and tried to mitigate the issue, make it seem as though it wasn't a big deal, at the very beginning tried to polarize it, try to say it was the Democrats' new hoax. It already created a division between certain people.
Hmm.
It really just saddens me how we, as a nation, as a people, as Americans, we couldn't come together for this.
Mm.
There were a lot of people, a lot, hundreds of thousands of people. I don't even think I'm exaggerating the amount who have so much regret, who feel absolutely terrible, who caught COVID, went to their parents' house who were elderly or grandparents' house, they got COVID and died. I remember seeing articles about that all the time.
Hmm.
There were countless articles of Republicans, not taking it seriously, and then they got hospitalized, and it was the worst experience of their lives. There, it. I don't know. I guess people weren't as paranoid as me. Not even not even necessarily due to COVID, just diseases and viruses in general.
Hmm.
Can you really tell me that no one has ever Googled symptoms for STDs, STIs? No one has done this. No one has ever read, these are the symptoms, blah, 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 this and that. Also, there may be no symptoms. Every single STI disease, like every single STI, STD says that, especially chlamydia. It could be with gonorrhea, syphilis, herpes, especially just everything. Like no one has read, no one has done that. No one's gone through that no one's gone down that rabbit hole. No one
I
really.
have. I
Okay,
will
thank
say.
you.
I will
Yeah,
say. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, even then, circling to your point too. Well, I'll say to this, and I'll let you have the mic
right.
again. Uh, Even during sex ed class, we were told if you are having unprotected sex, these are the types of STDs, STIs you can encounter. You might mess around in cage. You might mess around and catch AIDS and or HIV. You
Mhm.
could run the possibility, especially if the person isn't showing symptoms. You can still catch it. You can
Right.
still catch it if they're not on top of their medications, if they're not on top of their treatments. You can still catch it. And even then, they made it an emphasis: use protection as much as possible. Use protection as much as possible. Have that conversation with your partner before you. Huh, make sure you have that conversation with your partner before you have the intercourse, because the 5, 10, 20 minutes of thrills is not worth the long term effects that you're going to have to deal with for the rest of your life. And some of those diseases you will not get rid of. You won't.
Right.
So it's like, yeah. I mean, even then, like I said, I remember Googling it when Google, no, not even Googling it. It was Ask Jeeves or Lycos, go get it. Those search engines like, what is syphilis? What is gonorrhea? What is herpes? What is chlamydia? What are all these things? What does it look like? And you know, just to kind of give me a thought of like, okay, what to look for, because if somebody is experiencing this, I know for a fact I should not be touching them whatsoever. And even then, just the thought about me catching it terrified me enough to the point where I was like, I'm not just going to sleep around with it. Anybody or everybody. No, I'm going to play it smart. Going to play it smart.
Mhm. Right. Because you can only be as safe as you possibly can, you know. And
Yes.
like I just found it to be so odd how people, were like, "Oh, I got COVID. It wasn't that big of a deal." It's like, okay, that's you. That's how your body responded to it, and it could have been a false
Mm-hmm.
positive, you know? Like, and other people got a fever for like 2 days and that was it. Some people got a really bad headache. Some people got, I don't know, Ron, I think he had like a really bad backache. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like apparently Ellen DeGeneres had that too. She had really bad back pain as well. That's the symptom. People lost their sense of taste and smell. Some people still don't have
Mm-hmm.
it back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I, you know, the mask is just protection from others and yourself. And people
Mm-hmm.
just couldn't grasp that. They were like, "Oh, the symptoms aren't that big of a deal. I'm young, this and that." And imagine if people were running around saying, "Oh, I have chlamydia. Like wasn't that big. It's not that bad. You wouldn't come near me." Like,
Facts.
you
You'll get
know,
shot.
right? It's like, "Ah, it's syphilis, meh." It was, you know,
I'm straight. No,
yeah.
ain't no way.
Exactly. It's like, oh, like, granted, this is a totally separate topic. Like, I think there should be a better conversation when it comes to sexually transmitted diseases like STIs, STDs, because at the end of the day, like, they are infections and you just need to take antibiotics for them, for the allotted days and the allotted pills that are prescribed to you. But, like, not everyone is doing that, whether it comes to STIs or COVID. Not everyone's getting tested. A lot of, especially, well, this is strictly COVID. And I'll go back to COVID. No, a lot of people weren't taking it seriously.
Mm-mm.
Half the news was saying it's not a big deal, and then the other half of the news is saying this is a big deal. This is history in the making. We're living in history right now. This is insane. This is insanity. and some people needed to just be contrarians and not take it as a big deal. And I get that, because like sometimes the news was just so much that you need a break from it just to chill out and cool off. I get that.
Mhm.
Everybody's brain needs a break, because once again, there's only so much you can do. And it was just like, come on, Al, you know people who can reset a Facebook post they who works for saying, but yeah, can't read a health journal about how the plot method isn't available for control. Yeah, you can't expect to find sense inside nonsense. Even though it technically is in the word nonsense, yet people still can't find it. It's true. It's just, it was the lack of education, the lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, and like, yeah, I don't like, especially like in my state. I find it weird how my governor was saying, "Oh, I don't think we need to do a mask mandate. I think we should just socially distance and take it easy and blah blah." It's like, no. Do you know why people wear seatbelts? Do you know why? Also, we have no reason to believe this, but bleach every surface. Yeah, because or drinking bleach, injecting bleach.
Oh,
Like, remember when Trump said that? And people actually did that. People like ingested bleach. Some people actually did that.
yes.
Yeah, that's the sign of poor leadership. That's the sign of poor leadership. Very
Mhm.
poor, very insane leadership. Man, I just lost my train of thought. What was I gonna?
You're
Uh,
talking about how, your governor
oh, right,
being dumb.
right. Just being absolutely, just stupid. Like, he was just saying, yeah, just socially distant. Like, I don't know who can just. You gotta. I feel like that's like using the pill, like being on the pill and not using a condom, and you sleep with a stranger who doesn't want to use a condom.
Mm.
Like, you need to do multiple things to protect yourself.
Yes.
Oh, and I was talking about the seatbelt.
Mm-hmm.
When they were trying to enforce people to use seatbelts back in whatever decade, at that whatever time, they were saying, like, a lot of people were pretty much saying the same thing with the masks. They're saying, "Oh, the seatbelt's trying to impinge on my freedom. It's blocking me. It's doing this. They're trying to control us. Blah blah blah." Same crap. When all people were trying, all government or leaders or the uh, car industry were trying to say is, "Hey, we want you to live. This is proven to show that this will save your life." And people were just saying, "No, that's a lie. It's this," and it spread like wildfire. And the reason why we use seatbelts is because it's a law now.
Yes. Imagine.
Yeah. So if things were enacted into law, granted, I get it. It sounds like control, if anyone could really word it that way. I mean, I don't know how people were reacting when they had to wear, shirt and shoes to go inside a place. Like, were people just losing their minds? Like, what do you mean I can't go in shirtless? Like, why would you want to?
especially if you're gross looking. Yeah.
It's not even that. It's just, I don't know. Maybe because like we grew up in this era, I would find it. I'm in South Florida. It's not that like granted, yeah, we have the beach and pools and things like that. If you go to the gym, there's going to be women without, just in their sports bra, not wearing a shirt. I still just think it's wild how I don't know. I'm not. I don't go to the grocery store expecting people to be shirtless because why? I don't know. I don't know unless the grocery store is, an outdoors farmers market and it's in the middle of summer. It's very hot. Sure. I don't think that's like that bad, but I don't know. Imagine just going to work and just someone being shirtless. Like I don't know. You're coming topless. 9s and below.
Well, hold on. Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. There's some 10s. Well, hold on. No. It depends because 10s can come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. Because there are some women around here who some people will say she's a 10. I'm like, maybe like a close 7. Ain't no way. A close 7, maybe a 7.5, maybe.
You are strict.
Hey, if your attitude is stink, but you look good, but your attitude is trashy, nah. I would rather take someone whose attitude is by far better, even though she may look average, but her attitude sets her above the bar. Yep, you're a 10. Come on, let's go. I will take that in a heartbeat. I will take it in a heartbeat because people's attitudes, I can't deal with it. I can't.
No, true. When you get to a certain age, you start to really see what you truly value in another person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I know it's cliche to say, but looks aren't everything is very true.
It is very true. Oh, very true. I mean, I look at it like this. And of course, Elle, you can pretty much back me up. Some of the people here in Michigan is like, depending upon who you run into, sure they may look attractive until you actually see their true personality come out. Then it just makes them a very ugly person. Like, I really don't want to be around you. I don't want to associate with you. There are other people who may not look the world's greatest and whatnot, but have the best personality in the whole wide world. It's like, I could be around you. I could find myself around with you. And again, a lot of times those people, they're not the ones with like the chiseled chest or the tight curves or the J-Lo booty. Like, no, a lot of them, they don't have all of that. They don't have all of that unless you're that top 1% where you have beauty, brains, and a lovely attitude that goes along with that. Yeah, you're probably one of the top 1% club. I could get that. I could see that. That happens.
Hey.
And the reason why I want to say, because the reason why, how I know, because I met one. She was lovely. She's not even from Michigan. She's from Florida. Boom. Mm-hmm.
I assume you're talking about me.
You ain't from Michigan. You're from Florida.
That is
The
true.
only person I know that's from Florida that came to Michigan. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome. In Taraki's comment, I mean, You got a point, Rocky. You got a point. I will give you that. You got a point. You got a point there, sir. I will give you that. How I don't know, but I will give you that.
So
I will give you that much.
what about Megan Thee Stallion? Her booty. And just, I don't know. I feel like she's, like, because she's like into anime and also very intelligent too.
Honestly, I haven't gave her zero mind.
Mm.
I don't know much about her at all. I don't know much of Chad. Oh, y'all bringing the heat. I love it. I love it. I mean, and again, I know because I know she graduated college for sure. That much I do know.
I don't even think it was in like artistry, like music or anything. What is she even graduated in?
I don't know. But again, you know, to your point, it's like I know she's a phenomenal woman. She is brilliant and whatnot. I know that she graduated.
But,
And even
from
but,
she got a Bachelor of Science degree in health administration.
It's something.
I mean, that's awesome, honestly.
It's something. Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's again like, you know, to like
She's got a plan B.
I guess probably like this really, really. And even then, like I was gonna say before too, like I don't know much about her outside of her graduating with her bachelor. You said with her bachelor's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, her graduated with her bachelor's and whatnot, and of course she was featured in WAP with Cardi B. Anything outside of that, I know nothing about.
If you ever hear her freestyle, it's actually really good.
Mm.
She is a solid, like, fantastic rapper for real. Featuring Ben Shapiro, what? It was still hilarious when Ben Shapiro decided to talk about WAP. And
I'm good.
yeah, me too. I really like her too. It's easy to dismiss her because she could, be very sexual.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. Yeah, exactly. Her freestyles are phenomenal. She's really good. Like she's a really great artist. And I have to tip my hat off to her. Same thing with Lizzo. Lizzo gets a lot of BS too because of her weight and how she, chooses to flaunt it, chooses to dress, her size and everything. She is an artist, Lizzo.
Yes.
Like you can't deny that. Like people who deny it are just like haters. It's just because of her weight and how she decides and how she chooses to flaunt it. That's it. That's all. And honestly, I love her for it. I love her that she, shows off her body in that way because, or in the way that she chooses is because it's freedom. It's liberation. It's liberating.
Mm-hmm.
And she plays the flute. Like, who else plays the flute?
I was going to say that too. Like, and plus, what sets her above anybody else? Lizzo plays a flute. Who do you know plays a flute?
Right.
That takes a lot.
Yes.
That takes, like, again, me going into like my band class, there were some good flute players, but they weren't necessarily at like Lizzo's level of playing the flute. Like,
right.
No.
see. Yeah, I respect that, Rocky.
Hmm.
No, I totally get that. Like, and also, like, I appreciate when people say, like, "Hey, I can see why people like this person, like, like this artist," because some people just try to act like. So you really can't see anything. I mean, I can be like that too, especially with like mumble rappers. I guess. I don't. It's just you gotta chalk it up to this generation that doesn't like words. Apparently, even though that's 80% of rap music, pretty much was supposed to be, but I guess they just branched off into mumble rap, which is like okay. When someone makes a mean wedding dress, does it make me want to wear one? Yeah, I get that. It's a very interesting analogy. Like, what wedding dress would you wear, Chad? Just asking for a friend. I mean, like, my boyfriend's really into fashion, so he might. I should ask him if he has any like designers that he really likes. So, like, Chad, you might have, you know, a wedding dress designer that you really like. Just because you'll never wear the wedding dress doesn't mean you can't appreciate it. Objection leading.
I saw that too. Like, not you objecting. Overruled. Objection overruled.
That's like penalty 10 yards.
Let's go.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's time run.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, because as always, it's always a great fun time on the Melanated
Yes.
Council on Tuesdays. It's always a great time in the Discord as well, but Tuesday nights are always just very incredibly special because we really get to hang out with you all. It's just awesome that you guys are just like so engaging no matter how the conversation steers. Y'all are just
Right.
just right along for the ride. Like no questions, no hiccups. We just went from talking about COVID to Lizzo. Really no connection between the two, I don't think. But that's how most of the mumble rows have already fallen off. I don't think they. That's true. They did. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah, I haven't really heard any. That's good. That's good. Like I'm guessing TikTok really probably destroyed them because they realize you don't really need their words; you just really need their beats. If they utilize any of their beats,
Ooh, come on,
that
L.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe in some cases, rest in peace, SoundCloud. Haven't heard from them. Maybe they should speak up. Hey, that's actually a TikTok sound. And then there's the balls on the ball. Speak up when I'm out. I can't remember how it goes. I don't know the words, but they literally say "speak up" in the song. It's kind of good. It's a fun TikTok trend if it's still going around. I deleted my TikTok like 5-6 months ago. So crazy how time flies.
Right.
Just like tonight. But as always, y'all have been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for watching.
Yes.
And catch us next week with a new topic still on the politics topic. And of course, like, hey!
Hey, you can't see me, but I'm waving at you.
Yay!
I am waving. You
Marvel
can't see me, but I'm waving.
Tamagos. It's always so great to see you. Let me see if I still have the Discord. Yeah, definitely join us in the Discord.
Woo,
And
woo.
we'll see you. We'll see you all next week. We love
Yes.
y'all. We need y'all. We can't live without y'all. So, no pressure.
Truly no pressure. None at all. None whatsoever.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.